Alright guys, we talked about it enough, now let's do it. Time to hard step. As we said before, step one, let's get that incline up as high as we can. 2, speed as low as we can possibly get it. Now, the first minute, we're just going to take it easy. We're going to start to feeling our legs, start to feeling what they should be doing. About this time, I like to start to pinch them just a little bit, just to remind them, hey, it's coming. We're about to go to work. If you need another minute, give yourself another minute. I like to give myself 1 minute, and then I like to start pushing my shopping cart up that hill. Okay, here we go. Ooh. So, each step that you take, you drive crazy mental intensity through every single stride. The way we go about doing that is we put our heel down. The minute our heel hits, boom, that intensity goes in. Heel hit, intensity, driving. Heel hit, driving intensity. Heels hitting, driving intensity. Heels hitting, driving intensity. So, every time your heel hits the deck, from the minute you start to drive back on that heel, you're squeezing those quads as hard as you can. And it won't be long before those quads get fired up to where they're super pumped. And that's going to drive that heart rate up. I got my polar heart rate monitor on so I can see where I'm at. Probably should have turned it on prior to. Okay, so we're driving mental intensity into our quads. Now, don't cheat yourself. The minute that heel hits, boom, driving. The minute that heel hits, you're driving mental intensity into the muscle. Now, there's a couple ways to really focus on those finishing squeezes. One trick that I've learned is try pushing this part of your knee, the backside, the soft side of your knee, towards the wall. In doing so, when you're finishing that stride and pushing that back of that knee towards that wall, you're really maximizing that pinch. And that pinch is your squeeze. That squeeze is going to end up being your separation. It's going to end up putting meat on those muscles. So when you squeeze as hard as you can at the very end. Oh. Now, that our quads are all fired up, getting super pumped. Our heart rate is up. We can change the focus just a bit. The focus being at the very end of that stride. Drive with your hips just a little bit. Drive with your hips just a little bit. And what you're going to start to feel right away when you drive with those hips and ride out that stride. When you're driving, at the very end, you're gonna feel your glute fold over. So all of a sudden, when you feel for it, you can really start to feel those glutes pinch at the very last moment, right? Well, your quads are fired up, they're pumped. So even smaller strides will get those quads pumped and keep them pumped. But we're gonna go with long strides and really focusing on squeezing that glute at the very end. Really focusing on getting big squeezes on those glutes at the very end. As you get more comfortable with your power stepping, you can start to pick spots in your glutes where you want your finishing pinch to be, and start pinching out of there. What it does is it isolates muscles in your glutes, and because you're really leaning forward to get that glute at the very end, pushing the back of the knee towards that wall, you're still getting that quad in, but you're pinching those glutes in. You're pinching those glutes at the very end, and if you start to pick a spot in them, you can isolate certain muscles. Now, to help isolate those muscles, your foot placement is very important. You can cross your feet over, still squeezing at the end of every stride, and still squeezing that glute. As you can see, all kinds of different muscles are being used when you do movements like that. Normal muscles that weren't being used prior to. That's how you work your glute into that power step. Now, it makes it a lot easier to work that glute in when you drive through with your hips. So remember, this is what we're doing. The minute our foot is hitting the deck, we're driving mental intensity into it. Driving mental intensity into it. At the very end of that stride, we're pushing the back of our knee towards the wall as hard as we can, squeezing those quads. And before we finish our stride, we're pinching that glute. Now that's going to work both our glutes and our quads, right? But you're going, where's the ham in that? There's no ham in that. You're right. Here's where the hams come in. You shorten your strides. Your quads are so fired up that you can just drive real strong into those little strides and still get those quads. But we're going to change our ambition here a little bit. We're going to kick our heels out. And on every single time you kick back, we're getting a big glute squeeze and a big ham squeeze. Now, your hands are gonna tighten up and get pumped real fast too. Because when you were doing that hard stepping, everything was being worked. So, your glutes, your hams, all of it was being worked. So that pump still comes easy. However, it's all about focus. It's all about pouring mental intensity to that muscle. So every time you kick back, you're focusing on it. You're squeezing it. You're focusing on it and you're squeezing it. You're focusing on it and you're squeezing on it. Focusing on it and squeezing on it. Guys, I recommend you stay in the middle of the treadmill and you keep good posture. Don't get out here because you might fall. Stay up front. Stay up front. Pretend that there's a steel cord holding you up from the very middle of your head. And you can't come down. What that'll do is it'll keep you nice and straight. Even though we tend to hunch or whatever, you try to maintain your form the best you can. So, back to our hams. Back to our hams. Squeezing those glutes. Really focusing and pouring mental intensity into every step. Guys, if you're doing this right, I promise you, you're going to get development. You're going to get separation. You're going to get your heart cranked up. And you're going to start to develop a mind-muscle connection with those glutes, those quads, and those hams. Because you're going to start to gain control over those muscles. And they're all going to tie in beautifully. Guys, thanks for visiting. Thanks for giving me your time. I look forward to seeing you here soon again. Remember, you don't have to train long, and you don't have to train with big heavy weights or stuff that's going to put your body through hell. You can make calculated, isolated movements that are going to keep you fit, strong, and in and out of the gym in minimal amounts of time. Guys, make it a great day. Thank you.